Hey everyone, Warwick's here. Happy season 4. I'm recording this on patch day. This video is coming out in a couple days, I think. I'm going to be doing all of those. All the monk specs, we're starting off with this. I'm going to record them over the next day or two so that we can get that. I have raid in like 45 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep this as a shorter video because there's not a ton to talk about with Brewmaster Monk this patch, but we are going to definitely be talking about it. Let me get a couple of my notes pulled up because I'm an idiot and forgot to do this beforehand. So basically, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to kind of touch on the major things that you need to know to play Brewmaster Monk come Season 4. This is not going to be like the most min-maxy thing, but it is going to be something where you're going to want to sit down and take time to go over the information that we have here today so that we can go through and make sure that you're being set for success. That's the point of these guides videos, is that they're always designed to make sure that you're going to be successful with the spec in Season 4 as we start transitioning basically into the War Within. Now, obviously, Monk is getting a lot of changes so far. Brewmaster specifically hasn't seen a ton, but the Monk class tree got a ton. I did do a video on that. I'll throw that up there so that you can go see that. We're going to be focused on Season 4 today, and that's what my next few videos are going to be all about. A few class guides, spec guides that I want to do, and then we'll talk about Season 4 dungeon routing and things like that. I did a Transcendent series, if you want to go check that out, a 2-part series on that. So a lot of things going on that I'm trying to do to help you just make your life easier if you're a monk in Season 4. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to talk about any changes to the talent builds. We're going to talk about just generally your stats, what you want to. We'll talk about which tier set you're going to get. We'll talk about a basic rotation, just as again to keep things moving for you, and then we're going to talk about gear and your bullions and how do you spend them, and then your normal consumables and stuff like that. So we're going to touch on all of that. So we're going to start with the Mythic Plus build. Really, the Mythic Plus build hasn't changed a ton in terms of the most key talent points that you're going to spend. This tree right here that you're seeing is pretty much going to be the standard that you're going to run. Now, there are a few things that you want to take note of. So we've had this argument all patch basically about, do we grab diffuse? Do we grab dampen? Last season, with the way the dungeon pool worked, neither of these cooldowns were actually going to be all that useful. This season, I do think they're going to be impactful. So I think you're going to need to find 2 more keybinds if you can, because we are definitely going to be using both dampen and diffuse in quite a few dungeons. There's a couple of dungeons where like dampen isn't going to be very good. Breckenhide Hollow comes to mind immediately, where Dance of the Wind is just going to be better. I think diffuse is going to be much more universally useful across all the 8 dungeons when you consider your talent builds, or your like what's going to be like the best for your particular dungeon. Beyond that, like nothing else really changes with this build. Just basically, it's, do you grab Dampen, Diffuse, Dance of the Wind, or Grace of Yu'lon? Like, you kind of take it on a dungeon by dungeon basis. I'll kind of talk about those when I do routing guides. But I think for the most part, you can probably safely grab Dampen and Diffuse for most dungeons and you're going to be fine. But if you want to keep the passive Dance of the Wind, Yu'lon's Grace setup, I don't think it's going to hurt you. Dampen Diffuse really starts to come into play at much higher key levels than it does, say, in your lower key levels. What was formerly like 22, 23s, that's where the Dampen Diffuse argument really starts to play an impact. If you're doing someone that's just doing like what was a weekly like 18, you can pick the passive options to save you some keybinds, and I think you're going to be okay. In the class tree, there's a couple of talents that we can play around with. You can take a point out of High Tolerance and throw it into something like Anvil and Stave, or you can throw it into Blackout combo. I think both of those are going to be just fine. That you can go grab. That's really going to be that point. And then this choice node, a lot of people are going to take Training Him to Zhao. I still run Light Brewing, but Training Him to Zhao is going to be good. It's a little bit more of a damage build, whereas Light Brewing is a little bit of safety defensively. So I think this is going to be what you want to run generally for Mythic Plus. Not a ton of changes, nothing that's going to be game breaking to you, but it is something that you want to keep in mind. Really, it's just about, do you want to take Dampen and Diffuse in your dungeons, and know the diffuse spots that you can, and I'll try to go over in future videos what those diffuse spots are. The perspective of the raid build, again, not a ton has changed. With the raids rotating every single week, Dampen is not going to necessarily see a ton of play, although there are some bosses that you can run it on. Flex point, if you don't want to go full damage, you can grab Bounce Back. just to give you a little bit of flexibility there. You can go grab Spear Hand Strike for your trash pulls, just because it's going to be universally a little bit more useful. The other thing you can do is you can go grab this and then grab like Detox, just to save you the points here. It's minor adjustments. If you don't want to grab Paralysis, like again, these are all just stuff that you don't give a damn about for raid, so who cares. For the Spectre side, again, you can switch a point in Blackout combo and go to High Tolerance. I'm going to do that tonight because I'm actually tanking raid. Beyond that, again, you can run potentially Light Brewing versus Training of Nejao. There are some people that don't run Facepalm and instead grab Pretense of Instability if you're actively tanking. So there's definitely some things that you can switch around, little minor points that you just feel most comfortable with. Stormstout's Last Keg is something that you can run for just for comfort. Again, Point and Facepalm can come out here if you want that. I've discovered in my limited raid tanking with Brewmaster that Stormstout's Last Keg is not necessarily super giga required. And then this point here with Chi Surge, you can, again, that's a flex point. You can take it out. Let me grab my build notes here because I did make some notes on this. Chi Surge, this talent here is going to be mostly useful in like just general raid builds. It's kind of universally good, honestly. So like you could pull this out if you want. Same with grabbing like Continuation over Bountiful Brew. They're all minor things. Again, not a lot has changed with the raid build. Again, you have some flex points that you can pull around, whether it's Facepalm into Pretense of Instability, whatever the case may be. Not a lot's going on there. Your rotation really hasn't changed. You're going to be Keg Smashing on cooldown, Breath of Firing right after all the time. Blackout Kick is going to be useful for AoE. Rushing Jade Wind you want to maintain as much as humanly possible. And then just cooldowns you want to use on cooldown. So Weapons of Order, Keg Smash, White Tiger Statue, Nejao, Bone Dust Brew. All of those, you just kind of use them on cooldown. Exploding Keg, same thing. Rising Sun Kick on cooldown. Basically, whatever's on cooldown, whatever's off cooldown, use it, with priority being to Keg Smash, Rising Sun Kick, or Keg Smash, Breath of Fire, Rising Sun Kick, and Blackout Kick for single target. Flip them for AoE. And then just all the cooldowns go down on cooldown while maintaining Rushing Jade Wind at maximum uptime. Rotation's not difficult, guys. It's just there's a lot of buttons, a lot of ramp up to it, a lot of things going on, but the core rotation is actually very straightforward. You literally go, okay, left to right on these 4 buttons. Off cooldown, use it. Off cooldown, use it. Off cooldown, use it. Off cooldown, use it. And then everything else on here is going to be situational. Use on cooldown as it comes up. Things like that. Like, there's really not a ton to the Brewmaster rotation. All right. Consumables, you're still going to be running your versatility files. You're still going to want your Deviled Eggs or a Feast. Grab your Dreambound Augment Rune if you haven't already from rank, from the Dream Wardens thing. And you're just going to use Buzzing Runes mostly for the crit, unless you are hitting the crit cap, in which case you want to use the Mastery Runes. Like, I'm still fine. I'm not quite to what is considered crit cap, which is about 5,500 rating, in which case you'd want to switch to a Mastery Rune. But if you're hitting that point, then you probably already know what's going on. Of course, you want your Potions of Power for Raid and Mythic Plus scenarios. Your Dreamwalker's Healing Potions are still going to be good use for raids. I think that's really about it when it comes to that side. Gems, it's going to entirely depend on your stat weights, but typically a safe pick is going to be high crit, low verse. I could probably switch these out to more crit verse, or even like mastery type gems. You do want to get your one primary stat gem, and it can be verse, crit, or mastery depending on where your stat weights are at. So your gems haven't really changed at all. Your enchants haven't changed. Incandescent Essence you're going to want. Regenerative, I use Regenerative Leech. This is because I also play Mistweaver, but Avoidance is really good for Brewmaster. I have Avoidance on these bracers because I have Mistweaver specific bracers. Waking stats on the chest. Shadowed Belt Clasp if you can afford it. Fierce Armor Kit. Watcher's Loam or Planesrunner Breeze, it doesn't matter. I use Watcher's Loam because it's a bit more stamina. And then enchants, you want to do verse, crit, verse, or mastery if you're capped on both crit and verse. Again, when I say capped, I mean if you're sitting around 5,500 stat, then you're basically hitting like where the big DR comes in and hits. So again, I know I'm rushing through this, but really there's not a lot to the enchant side here, the gems, because it's been the same as they've been pretty much the entire expansion. So nothing that should be surprised. And then Sophic Devotion for your weapon. Now, which tier set are we getting? We're actually sticking with this tier 3, or the season 3 set bonus, so that's going to carry over into season 4. You're not going to be able to mix and match and stuff like that because they've turned that off for this patch. So it's the same thing we were running in season 3. It was by far the best tier set for Brewmaster this season, so I'm not surprised at all. Like, none. Now, which pieces do you use? I've got everything but... I believe it's just, let's see, I don't have shoulders, I don't think. I don't have legs, because I have good crit verse legs. But yeah, crit verse gloves, you want those. Helm is good. Haste mastery and haste verse on the chest is good for the verse. Shoulders or legs, I think are, like, you can interchange them. They're both kind of bad for the respective classes. Let me see. Yeah, they're haste verse for legs, so, like, you just pick one and go from there. So but really it's about getting the 4 pieces as quickly as you can at the highest item level you can. That's always going to give you the biggest bang for your buck on that. Now, real quick, just to explain this, when it says let's see. Yeah, so real quick on the tier set, it says 50% of all fire damage that you heal. Fire damage, of course, is breath and fire with additional hits from Dragonfire Brew. If you run that, we don't in our builds, because I don't. Charred Passions is just better, but all the damage that you get from Charred Passions counts as fire damage. Exploding Keg counts as fire damage. And then Charred Passions, Underspinning Crane Kick, and Blackout Kick are both going to count as fire damage as well. So that's all the sources of fire damage that you have. Let's see. Going through my notes. Apologies. Oh, Revival Catalyst is open from the start, so you got plenty of sources to get that. Let's talk about probably the big thing that you're all here is the bullion system. So basically the bullion system is the old Dinar system with a little bit of an update and twist. Basically you get it from killing the Awakened raid for the week. This first week it's going to be Vault of the Incarnates, and then it rotates through Aberrus, then Amir Drasil. It'll rotate again for 1 raid a week. So for the next 6 weeks you're going to basically do 1 raid a week. And then after that you're basically getting all the raids can be done on are going to be awakened at week 7, so you get the opportunity to obtain your bullions. And basically you're going to get about 1 a week, and then week 7 comes along, you're going to be able to obtain more than that. Most pieces I think cost 2 bullions, so you might not be able to get them right away, these pieces, but here's some things to be keeping an eye on. So what I think is going to be in this, so you can see which one is awakened. However, which piece do you think is going to be the most important piece for you to get? I think it's really easy to know, and that is Jargon. I think this is going to be the number 1 piece that you go after, unless you're killing it on Mythic Week, the week 1 where it's at. So, like, the on-use effect is just, it's the most powerful polearm that's there. It's the best stats. It's crit mastery versus Rush On, which is haste verse. It's just the best polearm in the game right now. Dual wield setups, I don't think there's really anything that for a dual wield setup is going to be better for Brewmaster or really for Windwalker either. Spoiler. Just go get Jargon. It's the easiest one. In terms of trinkets, there's a few choices that you can go after for trinkets. I think the biggest one and the best one is going to be Grief Torch, which comes off of Broodkeeper Diurna and Vault of the Incarnates. So you could get it on a drop, but if you don't, get it with your Dinars, or with your Bullions rather, because it's just going to be the best burst damage. It's got the best option for single targets, the best option for AoE. If people die, cooldown is reset, so very good use there. That comes off of in Vault of the Incarnates, so let's switch to that. Off of Broodkeeper. right here. The other good trinket is going to be, there's a couple of them actually. There's Spiteful Storm, which comes off of Razageth. Basically, you get the spite and you do extra damage over time. And you basically go and you get this stacked up and stacked up and stacked up basically until you die. This is best obviously for single target. Bandolier of Twisted Blades is a good generic choice because it does that AoE damage, and Bandolier came out of I believe it was Avarice. No, it came out of Mirror Cell, didn't it? Yeah. It's Bandolier of Twisted Blades, which came off of right here. Which I believe comes off of Gira. Yeah, it comes off of Gira. So you can grab that with another bullion purchase. The other one that you want to keep an eye out for also comes out of Vault of the Incarnates, and it also comes off of right off the first boss, Aranog. And that is Seal of Diurna's Chosen. This ring here, perfect stats for Mistweaver or for Windwalker or Brewmaster rather, with crit burst, and dealing fire damage is a chance to do the extra damage. Just the best DPS ring. You're probably going to grab Jarun, Grief Torch, and then grab this ring with your first three choices. That's going to be, generally speaking, my recommendation. What are some other things that you can go grab? If you want defensive trinkets, Rage Heart, the Aurora Boreal Necklace with this Absorb on fire damage, Voice of the Silent Star. Has no stamina on it though, that cloak, the Sarkaroth cloak. So I'd really just focus on trinkets mostly after you get your Jarun and your Diurna's Chosen. Just focus on whatever trinkets you think are going to be able to target the best and that you haven't gotten yet out of any other setup. Embellishments, have they changed? No. Slimy Expulsion Boots with the Toxified Armor patch is still the best. And of course you want to get your Flavor Pocket to keep that going along. And then the new Spark is going to be Spark of Awakening. Just use it to basically to fill any gaps in. Expulsion Boots if you have them. If not, Lifebound Belt or Lifebound Bindings in order to maximize that. I have a ring that is my one there, so I'll probably max this out and then toss this aside for Diurna's Chosen. So there's a few different ways that you can go about getting your gear there. Remember, crafted gear is not going to be as powerful as it was in is what it's going to be as it was in previous seasons, because they capped the item level to be a little bit lower than what drops out of the raid. So is what it is on that front. Overall, how's Brewmaster looking for this patch? My opinion on Brewmaster is that it's always been pretty good. It's got some base fundamental problems that I've talked about endlessly this expansion, so I'm not going to go into them anymore. But overall, I think the tank is going to look pretty good. It's not going to be the best. It's not Demon Hunter. It's not Paladin. I don't even think it's Bear Druid. I think Brewmaster is competing right there for the number 4 best tank slot with Prot Warrior this tier, if you want to go strictly like the highest of keys. But if you're not pushing world first level keys, or you're pushing like 28s, 29s, 30s, or what would be the equivalent of that with the new Mythic Plus setup, you can play Brewmaster at any key level. I got to 3K playing it a lot last season, so it's perfectly capable in the hands of a player that's dedicated to playing it. And it's a fun spec. It's really, really fun. A lot of the it does punish you if you play poorly, but I think every tank really does that except for like Demon Hunter and Bear. Because just the way those tanks are built right now. But if you play it well, you can do a ton of damage. Best offense is good, best defense is a good offense type of situation. It's gonna hold up, it's gonna sustain it, and we're gonna see that I think you'll have quite a bit of fun on the spec. And then of course we're gonna get the big changes in War Within and pre-patch. I'm hoping as well that I think are gonna put this spec potentially into another realm of being really good, on top of things like the hero talent trees, which we'll talk more about those as we get in closer to season 4. And I will be doing guides not long after I get through the leveling process of the War Within on whatever it is I'm maining, but probably Monk. So that's it for this video, guys. Short 20-minute video. I hope you all enjoyed that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be answering them. I check every comment that comes through on these videos, so if you have questions, ask there. You can also reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at works_wow. You can reach out to me there. You can reach out to me on Discord, works__. I'll put all of this in the description if I can. Till the next video, hope you all stay safe. Hope you're enjoying yourself. You have fun. You keep on gaming. See you next time.